Hello, everybody. My name's Stephen Hannon. I'm here from Thinc, based in Manchester as a managed services provider. I'm joined with one of our long-time partners, SonicWall, well known in the cybersecurity and firewall environments. I'm joined with Pierrick Prévert, who was going to discuss zero trust security with us this afternoon. Pierrick, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role within SonicWall.
Well, hello. So, Pierrick Prévert. I'm based in France, in Paris, and I was part of a company called Banyan Security that was acquired by SonicWall to provide their customer with zero trust security solution that is called Cloud Secure Edge. So it's a security service edge solution, and my role is to help develop Cloud Secure Edge for all SonicWall customers in EMEA.
Fantastic. So for those who might not be aware, as SonicWall are really expanding their security suites through acquisition and development, of course, for those who might be new to the concept, what is zero trust cybersecurity?
So one thing to understand, and I think that is crucial, is that zero trust cybersecurity is not a product and it's not a specification either. Zero trust is just a security concept, a philosophy that is often summarized as never trust, always verify. And some tools, such as SonicWall Cloud Secure Edge, help implement this philosophy. That being said, in practical terms, when we're talking about zero trust in the context of network access, it means implementing strict identity verification for every user, for every device that are attempting to access resources. And that is regardless of whether these resources are inside or outside of the network perimeter, and whether this application is hosted on the cloud or on premises. Every time, to make it really clear, every time a user wants to access any resource, wherever he is, wherever the resource is, user identity, device ownership, device posture will be evaluated against a policy. The zero trust approach enforces this contextual least privilege access model. So that's really critical because for years, security has been about defending a fixed perimeter, which was the on-premises, right? But the world has changed in the last 25 years, and with the rise of SaaS application, cloud environments, and also employee mobility, this has led to blind spots that are today leveraged by attackers to compromise the information systems.
That's a fantastic overview. Thank you, Pierrick. Here at Thinc, we really specialize in helping SMEs across the UK and internationally with our expansion. With zero trust security, as you adumbrated there, how does that really matter to SMEs in today's modern environment? How can SMEs really build zero trust into their posture?
So for one, I would say because SMEs are part of the world, so they use SaaS application, cloud environments, and they deal with employee mobility. And if you have all that and you're not using a zero trust approach for your security, there is a good chance that your security posture is either weak or incomplete, and that the user experience is usually terrible. Depending on studies, there's between, I think, 50 to 60% of small businesses that close within 6 months when they were hacked. And a big chunk of these breaches come from services that should not have been exposed in the first place, right? Or by using stolen credentials that were retrieved, for instance, through phishing. So for a lot of small businesses, the security breach is the final nail in the coffin, right? So I think SMEs should really think about their cybersecurity. But at the same time, I would concede that the industry has made it very difficult for them to navigate the offering, right? And to understand why it's important, what's important, and to provide them with solutions that are simple to use and don't require a massive overhaul of their infrastructure.
You mentioned there about there might be the illusion this requires, as you say, a whole overhaul of infrastructure and complete rebuild from the ground up. That's not always the case. So if you wanted to implement, as we say, that philosophy of zero trust into an organization, where would you start?
So there are as many responses to this question as there are companies. This is why I would strongly advise that if a company doesn't have in-house expertise on how to do that, they should leverage services such as the one Thinc provides to actually help them with that. I think that something that is often forgotten is that cybersecurity only exists to support the business needs of a company. So zero trust cybersecurity posture should align with the company's goal to safeguard data, systems, and users while minimizing disruptions and risks. And from an implementation perspective, a zero trust journey should start with a clear understanding of what are the critical assets that require protection. So this involves mapping sensitive information, defining which users and devices need access to these resources. So it might seem a bit overwhelming, but a solution like SonicWall Cloud Security makes this journey really easy.
That's fantastic. And thank you for that. If we could continue on zero trust, and particularly as you mentioned there, some of the often terrifying statistics, 50-60% of organizations who have experienced some kind of security incident often don't survive 12 months. In those 50-60%, are there examples we could take in there where having zero trust policies could have saved a business from either closing or indeed prevent them from any attacks even happening?
So actually, we could dive into a bit of history of zero trust, because I think that could help shine some light on this aspect. Even if we're not talking about SMBs here, but zero trust, the first zero trust architecture was created by Google. It was a project called Beyond Corp. And the reason Google started developing this zero trust architecture, Beyond Corp, started thinking about that, was because of a security breach in 2009, which was Operation Aurora. So it was a group of cyber attacks that targeted Adobe, Yahoo, Morgan Stanley, so all these major, huge companies, and also Google. And it was attributed to a group of attackers based in China. And Google analyzed internally what happened, what was leveraged by attackers to actually carry this attack and to make it successful. And that's where they realized that this concept of trust, of perimeter, which is this hard shell on the outside and this soft center, which is a traditional network architecture, was something that they had to go away from. And they had to think of something else. And that's where they come up with this project Beyond Corp, which describes an architecture that takes into account device identity, device ownership, user identity, device posture, all that to make an access decision. Instead of saying you're part of the perimeter, you have the right to access something, we will verify this conceptual information at all times. So from an historic perspective, zero trust was created to actually address a specific attack that was carried out by attackers for these big companies, but could have been carried for small companies. The mechanism is the same. Now, if we look early this year, I think Okta, for instance, that one of their services was targeted with credential stuffing. And one of the biggest threats that we have today is credential theft. A lot of credentials can be bought on the dark web because people use and reuse credentials everywhere, right? And the thing with the solution like Zero Trust is that it prevents this type of attacks. If we look at the Verizon data breach report of this year, they say that 80% of modern attacks use at any point credentials that were stolen. Either they start with that, with phishing, and they get credential and they leverage that to attack an application, or they first hack something and then they use credential to access something else, but credential will be used. So any solution that does not rely only on credential to access system helps you prevent you against such attacks. And Zero Trust does that because anytime you try to access a resource, we verify that it's an authorized device, so credentials are not enough. You have to have the laptop also of the person you're trying to impersonate, right? But you have to have the laptop in a good state with, for instance, the EDR solution, for instance, CrowdStrike that is running on the device so that you can access the specific resource. So we can do all that with Zero Trust, and that prevents a whole trove of attacks.
You mentioned the endpoint protection there with CrowdStrike. So I was very interested to read the news on the day of recording this, how SonicWall and CrowdStrike will play better together when we're looking at endpoint protection, perimeter detection, and how that can play into this whole concept of Zero Trust. So seeing how that relationship progresses, I think will be massive for the whole industry.
Hacking still exists, I would say, for targeted attack. Most of the time, most of the attacks are carried with little knowledge, just using existing tools that are widely available, using data that is widely found, stolen credentials, this kind of thing, and they just log in. Most of the alerts we get are from cloud environments, right? Because that's where a lot of the information here is, and a lot of people put a lot of emphasis of in protecting their on-premises, but still they use SaaS applications. They use a lot of application outside that contain a lot of valuable information, and the security posture is not the same. And when they try to implement a consistent security mechanism across the board, which is on-premises, cloud environments, SaaS applications, they find that they don't have the tool, which is why a solution like Cloud Secure Edge or an SSE solution shines.
We've been very fortunate as an organization to partner with SonicWall for the last 35 years.
Likewise.
Yes, it's and particularly with the acquisition of Banyan and other organizations to become part of the SonicWall family. Could you explain how working with a partner like Thinc in this instance would make implementing improvements to cybersecurity and bringing zero trust, how we could make that easy for a customer?
I would say because you know our products, you know the whole suite, Cloud Secure Edge, so you would be uniquely positioned to actually help implement this solution. You will be uniquely positioned to guide customers in implementing this solution. And also because you know us and you know that our whole product philosophy, and especially with Cloud Secure Edge, is to have great user experience, great admin experience while maintaining the highest level of security. And I would go as far as to say that SonicWall is uniquely positioned to make this easy because of our product philosophy, which is to meet our customers where they are. So instead of promoting rip and replace solution like most other solutions, Thinc doesn't do that, but we integrate with existing environment and existing constraint to make a transition to a zero trust security model easier and more cost effective. With our tools, with Cloud Secure Edge, we make it an interactive journey. So you would help a customer transition to a secure model with Cloud Secure Edge through an iterative journey, which is, for instance, you can have firewalls that are not SonicWall firewalls and still be able to implement zero trust with that. Then you would define broad policies that would allow access while maintaining a high level of security. And then you would go into a process of identifying critical systems with your process, with the visibility features that we provide. And if the customer already has SonicWall firewalls, then that's even better because we're a cybersecurity platform. So our products, our solutions are cross-integrated. So you would be able to enable zero trust features with the click of a button, really.
That's fantastic. I've been asking everybody one question. If you could do or offer one piece of advice to an end user today, one little tidbit of information that could make them more secure in their working environment that they could change today, what would your number one tip be?
So that's an interesting question, I would say, because, well, you should be conscious of a one tip doesn't fix a whole situation. So one tip would just highlight a specific aspect. But I would say, and that's something that I highlighted at the beginning, is where do you want to go as a company? Because cybersecurity should support that. So if you are, for instance, thinking of expanding through mergers and acquisition, then there's going to be a question that will come fast to you, which is, how do we integrate these systems into our environment? So this, from a practical standpoint, how would you do that? And from a security standpoint, how would you do that in a secure manner? So it's often, and I say it's often forgotten, is that cybersecurity exists to support the business needs of the company. So have a clear vision of where you want to go, and then finding the right tool and process to put in place is actually a breeze. And that's the case for ZTNA. If you start having cloud environments, SaaS application, and you've got employee mobilities and the tools are not enough, and ZTNA was created and SSE solutions were created to address exactly that. Is this where you want to go as a company to support your business? Yes, then that's the type of tool you need. If you're just a company that have an on-premise environment and you will stay this way because you're just, for instance, local industries that does maybe just a firewall is enough, right? So it's not a special tool, not a special process, but what is the vision? Where do you want to go? And then you will find the good security and tool for the job. And you have actually advisors that can give you this information.
And thank you for that, Pierre. That's always a great insight and certainly how to get started. Pierre, thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon to discuss Zero Trust Security, Cloud Secure Edge with SonicWall, and some of the SonicWall products that are available out there. As you mentioned from day one, SonicWall are not just firewalls anymore. There's a lot more integration, development, merger and acquisition to just increase that portfolio. So thank you again for your time. If anyone wants to discuss or demystify Zero Trust Security a little bit further, please don't hesitate to get in touch with myself. My name is Stephen Hannon from Thinc. Thank you very much.
Thank you.